We understand there is a mandate emerging from our theological heritage to dismantle the structures and systems which silence harm and exploit human beings and the very ecosystems of our planet, as well as to create just and sustainable communities without barriers to belonging in our communities for all who share our values and theological perspectives. As I have been following along with the Reverend Dr. Sherry Prudhomme and her theological reflections on each of the values recently adopted in the recent revisions to Article 2 in the UUA bylaws, I was personally hoping that by the time I got to this final theological reflection about equity, that there would be a culmination or summation of everything that had been discussed thus far that would give me some clarity or guidance how to move forward. Yet, I feel that the language in this final reflection is of the same grandiose yet vague nature I have heard before and does not tell me anything about how I'm supposed to embody these values. Hey. I feel like part of the problem with equity in particular is that it is a word that has been invoked in Unitarian Universalist spaces over many years, and that many generations of Unitarian Universalists have been accustomed to hearing that word without completely understanding exactly what it truly means, or understanding it to mean something different than what it actually does mean. This, I feel, is partly due to the fact that equity sounds very similar to another related word, equality. Even from a linguistic standpoint, it is easy to confuse the two words because they both stem from the same Latin root, aequus, meaning even or level, and are at least related in terms of their respective definitions. Both of these words have gained traction in public discourse, especially within the last 20 years, and the ways in which we understand them, the differences between them, can have profound implications for how we understand justice, community, and spiritual practice, which is important for us as UUs who are people that speak up and speak out to those populations that have been historically marginalized and oppressed. Equality means treating everyone the same, giving each person the same resources or opportunities. It is based on the assumption that if everyone receives identical support, they will have an equal chance to succeed. For most of us, equality might sound like the pinnacle of fairness. Is that not what we have been taught to strive for? A world where no one is considered different and everyone is treated the same. Equity, on the other hand, is about fairness rather than sameness. It acknowledges that people do not start from the same place, and it asks the more nuanced question, what if treating everyone the same isn't enough? What if fairness means ensuring that each person gets what they need, which may not look the same for everyone? Equity recognizes that some people have been historically marginalized and disadvantaged, while others enjoy privileges, whether through race, gender, class, ability, or other factors that have resulted in them having advantages that others have not. Equity seeks to provide different levels of support based on individual or group needs to ensure that everyone can thrive. A popular metaphor for illustrating this distinction involves the picture that is printed on the front of your order of service for today. 3 people of different heights trying to look over a fence to watch the baseball game. Equality would say that each person is treated the same, which means each person is given an identical box to stand on. The problem with this is that even though everyone has been given the same advantage, the tallest person can easily see over the fence, the middle person can just barely see, and the shortest person still cannot see at all. Equity ensures that each person gets the number of boxes they need, giving the shortest person 2 boxes, the middle person 1 box, and the tallest person none, so they can all see over the fence with ease. Essentially, Equity is concerned with making sure that the end result is equal, so that each one of the three people is able to watch and enjoy the baseball game without impediment. As a people who are known for our quickness to proclaim and affirm the inherent worth and dignity of all people, we have enshrined and lifted up a deep theological belief that every individual has value simply by the fact that they are human. However, in recognizing this belief, we must also do the uncomfortable work of acknowledging that in practice, not everyone experiences having their worth and dignity being honored equally. Marginalized groups, whether by race, disability, economic status, sexual orientation, gender identity, or other factors, are denied dignity in ways that are both overt and subtle. Our commitment to equality reminds us that everyone, regardless of their background or identity, deserves respect and dignity. But equality alone does not address the ways in which people are systematically denied what they need to flourish. For example, if we treat everyone with the same amount of respect without acknowledging the specific harms and exclusions they face, we risk maintaining the status quo. Equity pushes us further. It challenges us to recognize the uneven terrain of privilege. To honor each person's inherent worth and dignity equitably means ensuring those who have been historically excluded or harmed are given the extra support they need to reclaim their agency and thrive. This might involve reparative work, redistributing resources, amplifying marginalized voices, and creating space for healing. In other words, equity transforms worth and dignity from mere ideals into lived realities. This theological imperative aligns with a long tradition within Unitarian Universalism. Our forebears, whether Universalists proclaiming radical love for all souls or Unitarians emphasizing the importance of reason and justice, were often concerned not just with abstract ideals, but how those ideals could and can shape a more just and compassionate society. This distinction between equity and equality also speaks to another deeply held UU theological idea, the interdependent web of all existence. This principle reminds us that none of us is truly separate from others. Our lives are bound up in an intricate web of relationships. If one part of the web is harmed, the whole is affected. This understanding compels us to move beyond individualism and consider how we are responsible for one another's well-being. Equality often appeals to our sense of individual fairness. If I get one, you should get one too. But equity asks us to look at the entire system, to ask who needs more, who has been excluded, what do I have that others do not, and how can I use my privileges to rebalance the scales? These are not easy questions, but they are necessary if we want to live in harmony with the interdependent web. Our theological heritage offers guidance here. Both Unitarianism and Universalism emphasize collective responsibility, the idea that we are morally accountable not just for ourselves, but for the communities that we create and sustain. The Universalists' belief in universal salvation was not just about individual souls, but about building a beloved community where all could experience divine love. This echoes the idea of equity, that we cannot settle for a world where only some people flourish while others are left behind. In our contemporary context, collective responsibility invites us to acknowledge and dismantle systems of privilege and oppression. It means recognizing that those of us with more, whether in terms of resources, power, or opportunities, have an obligation to ensure that others receive what they need, even if that means giving up some of our own comfort or security. Equity in this sense becomes not just a moral obligation, but spiritual practice, a way of living into our interdependence with humility and generosity. The concept of beloved community is creating a community where each person's inherent worth is recognized, where justice prevails, and where love binds us together in mutual care. But beloved community cannot exist without first committing ourselves to seeking equity. Beloved community requires us to confront these deeper questions of power, access, and inclusion. It means shifting from a mindset of charity, where we give to others out of our abundance, to a mindset of solidarity, where we work alongside one another as partners in the struggle for justice. Our faith demands an honest confrontation with the ways inequalities persist, even with our own communities. But it also offers hope that by engaging deeply in this work, by aligning ourselves with the principles of both equality and equity, we can become a force for healing in this world. In this sense, equity is not just a concept or a policy, it is an invitation to practice compassion with accountability, holding ourselves and others responsible for the ways we participate in unjust systems, while also offering forgiveness and space for growth. The journey toward equity is a long one, and it may never feel complete. But as people of faith, we are not called to finish the work. We are called to be faithful to it, day by day, step by step. Our Unitarian Universalist tradition gives us the courage to believe that the arc of the moral universe bends toward justice, even if the bending requires our hands, our voices, and our hearts. May we leave this place with renewed commitment to the work of equity, with courage to confront injustice, and with hearts open to transformation. May we build a world where all people can see over the fence, where no one is left behind, and where the love we proclaim is made real in our actions. May we cause it to be so. Blessed be. Amen. Shalom. Assalamu alaikum. Namaste. Thank you all so much.